you worked on the Howard Franklin Bridge project, which is almost complete. Can you Google that, Tyler? It's kind of the scale when you drive down the Howard Franklin and you look over and you see that new bridge, the earthworks, the size of the new bridge. It's kind of insane. What is that, like a $3 billion project, something like that?
In the multiple. Well, it's actually just around $1 billion. It was $700 million at the time, but costs have obviously, gone through the roof.
So construction estimate as of 2020, 865 million. That is probably close to double now, right? 1.5, 1.6, something like that.
I have no doubt that since 2020,
it's gone up.
It's gone up due to no fault of those who are planning for it. But
right.
Just the nature of the industry has changed.
Yeah, that March 2020 was, that was the height of COVID, supply chain issues, construction costs skyrocketing, that whole thing. You mentioned you advocated for bike lanes.
I did, and one of the decisions that was made at that time by leadership was, the existing interstate obviously doesn't have sidewalks or a trail along it, but a bridge is a bridge. A bridge, by definition, is supposed to connect communities, and you can't just connect communities by cars. You have to think beyond that. The decision was also made before my time to reinforce the bridge to support really a heavier load, so that if transit became a reality in the future, it wouldn't require a completely new bridge to accommodate it. So it's really kind of an interesting project because it tries to accommodate so many different things, including a path that's physically separated from traffic, similar to what used to exist on the Friendship Trail Bridge over on Gandy.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, just because too much time passed, they had to demolish that. And I think a similar thing, if I'm not mistaken, is going to happen to the old bridge on the Howard Franklin, because that original one was built in, I think, the 50s. Then the newer one that's a little bit higher was maybe 70s, 80s. And now, obviously, we have this new one, which is even higher. Is the reason they raise it storm surge, hurricane issues? Is
hydrologic
that why?
modeling? They look, and it's all about making sure that we're planning for the life cycle. So
because you want these things to last for quite a while if you're going to spend $1 billion on a bridge.
Right. At some point, maintenance surpasses the cost of building new, and that's kind of what you're seeing now with the 1970s span.
And it talks here about hurricane evacuation plans can utilize all lanes. So they've thought of everything with the incorporation of this new bridge, which honestly, it goes back to what we were talking about with the chicken or the egg, getting ahead of the growth. This is exactly that. I'm glad that they've thought about that. Why? I mean, you're in that world. Is it a funds issue? Why does the government seem to always be playing catch up with highways and roadways? Like, why don't they just build their next highways with extra lanes? What's the reason?
Well, typically it is something, it's a question of priority at that time. Do we want to spend all of our money solving one problem for the next 50 years when we have 20 other problems that are sitting here waiting to be addressed, or do we try to spread the money evenly? There are, experts that are far more knowledgeable than me that are able to kind of help guide those decisions in different communities throughout the U.S. But here, I think that's ultimately the question. It's not about in 25 years, how do we want things to look? It's what is the incremental decision that we're making right now with the limited pot of money that we have, and how can we make sure it is something that can benefit everybody, not just the folks that use this one facility.
And a higher level of thinking too. I mean, to incorporate the bike ped trail with a future rail line, like creativity, I think that seems to have changed. Like when I imagine the urban renewal in the 1970s, I think of just a blank highway, ugly, gray, dull, straight through a city center. Now, though, you look at this new bridge, this includes, 4 or 5 different uses on the same bridge. It seems like creativity is more so at the forefront than it used to be.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's really the response to the push for more innovation in government, but really, across the board. People want so much out of one thing. And a lot of times it's achievable. It's just, you have to be willing to be creative and to come up with a solution that is different than what was been done before.
Well, this is such a cool project for you to be involved in. And then after this was completed, what was next for you?
Well, it's not quite done yet, but it's
Oh, I
close.
mean your
Yeah,
work at
yeah.
FDOT.
So we focused a lot at the time on complete streets, which is really a concept of not taking a one size fits all approach to transportation, which the bridge project obviously does. And in Tampa specifically, a lot of that involved retrofits. Looking at roads that really weren't doing what they should be doing in terms of serving all the different types of people that were trying to use it, and retrofitting them to be more community friendly and less car focused.
Yeah, pull that up, Tyler. Complete streets,
Yeah. So
which is a part of Vision Zero.
it is. It's a path. It's a way to achieve Vision Zero. Is thinking through who's using a street and more importantly what is around it. You don't want to have a high speed highway with no crossings, no stoplights, going through the middle of a neighborhood.
And this is a national
necessarily.
program, Complete Streets.
It is. It's really more of a theory and an application of a principle about designing roads beyond the sort of conventional thought of highway building.
So Complete Streets is a transportation policy and design approach that requires streets to be planned, designed, and operated and maintained to enable safe, convenient, and comfortable travel and access for all users of all ages and abilities, regardless of their mode of transportation. Yeah, you go to Rome, Italy, you're in a wheelchair, good luck. It's kind of cool. This country has always it's hard to say because there's a lot of bad stuff out there about our past. But when you travel, you really do realize, wow, America tries to accommodate all people. We really do try to do that. And this Complete Street project is a part of that. The ambitions for Vision Zero are to have zero pedestrian deaths. That's where the name comes from, right?
Zero deaths across the board. So no deaths as a result of traffic violence, which is actually
It's a bold
the
vision.
term that's used. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bold vision. But again, maybe not to chase perfection, but hey, if that's the goal, doing things now to design streets in a way that are more safe.
And it's actually more achievable than you think. I mean, it's kinetic energy. The faster you go, the more force going into a crash or an accident, the more likely it is that you will end up seriously injured or not walking away from it. So a lot of Vision Zero and Complete Streets revolve around making sure that streets are operating appropriately for where they are. It's that sense that everybody seems to have about like, well, they're speeding and they're not speeding. Well, how do you know? You're not looking at the speedometer. You can actually feel it and you can tell that the road isn't safe, that something is wrong with how it's being used and operated. So Complete Streets is the design response to that. How do we influence users to actually use the street in a safer way?
If you enjoyed this clip, click here for the full episode and make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.